And the question is, will he get in this cycle? And that's my question for you.
Well, that's really a decision for the people, Tucker. It's not something that I really think about or want to do. And Merry Christmas to you, too. But I've always believed that nothing should be off the table in life.
I'm sorry, guys. Pause it all. This
I
is
think
unhinged. This is a man that needs to be admitted into a psych ward, bro.
We got a Christmas Eve election surprise featuring Kevin Spacey. Do you want to react to the Zach?
Yeah, just the look on his face says everything that you need to know before we even press play. It's like he always like Tucker has to look like he's constantly like confused as part of his whole like bit. So he always starts with his head cocked to the side a little bit, like I'm so confused about what's happening.
2024 has not even begun yet, and it does seem like the presidential race is effectively frozen in place, if not over. We know who the candidates are. It's too late for another to get in. Some have already dropped out. But is it too late? Is there anyone in this
Is he teasing a Kevin Spacey 2024 run for the presidency?
Country of 350 million people who could jump in at this late date and re-scramble the calculus of electoral politics? Well, there may be someone, and in fact, you already know him. You know his face. And the question is, will he get in this cycle? And that's my question for you.
Well, that's really a decision for the people, Tucker. It's not something that I really think about or want to do. And Merry Christmas to you, too. But I've always believed that nothing should be off the table in life.
I'm sorry,
or
guys.
in
Pause it
art.
all. This is
I think
unhinged. This is a man that needs to be admitted into a psych ward, bro. He broke the fourth wall when there was no fourth wall, bro. He's literally like he's convincing himself. He's doing some sort of weird invent your own life, invent your own reality kind of idea. Just I think his world got so eroded after he got exposed for what he was. And now he's just rebuilding that illusion, not for anybody else, because to him, it was always an illusion. He was never a nice guy. He was never a friendly fella. He was always a fucking, pedophile. He was always a fucking, pervert, whatever, predator, whatever word you want to use for it, right? But he had this veneer to the public. He had this alternate reality that he could inhabit, and that it was public, and there was all the fawning praise, and he could go on the networks and the shows, and people told him how great he is and how he was a pioneer of television, and he had been great in the 90s as a film actor, and now he was really adding dignity to the craft of television, and which so desperately needed a real actor to stand behind it and go to bat for it and all this stuff, and he loved it. But then it all came shattering down. He's not been able to reinvent that illusion for the rest of us. But boy, he's just decided he's going to crawl back in there himself. He's like, oh, you can't tell me I can't be Frank Underwood. And now he has found an enabler, somebody who has absolutely no shame, named Tucker Carlson, who will indulge him in this just abject fantasy for some reason so that Tucker can co-opt it for nefarious political ends and financial gain himself.
Yeah. It's also super bizarre. Like Kevin Spacey going into this character as if House of Cards is still this huge like pop cultural thing that everyone's in on. It's not. Like House of Cards is kind of an old show at this point. It was big in like the 2000s and like 2010s. Kids these days are not like popping off the Frank Underwood, references and shit like that. It's just not happening. So like you slipping into this classic character of yours is not just going to make all of your problems with the public go away. I'm not sure if that's what he's hoping for or if he's just trolling people at this point, but it's like, bro, this show's not even that popular anymore. It's not that big. It was a great show. But you just referencing a thing that people like does not just scrub away what you did in the eyes of the public. Like, it's not how it works, dude. And the show's not even that relevant anymore. So why are you still doing this weird charade like 6 years after you were fucking canceled?
We could both agree that we need to get some adults back in the room. So if that means taking on the chief executive role, well, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make for this great nation.
Adults in the room. I love it. I could see it as a bumper sticker. Is that your campaign slogan?
Well, that's not a bad idea. Look, I think first our country needs to stop apologizing and stiffen up. I mean, look, we got so many people running around with so many different issues like gun control, important issue. But let's be honest. The truth is, More people are killed by online trolls every day.
I wonder if Tucker knew that this would be like all in character as Frank Underwood, or if he just agreed to interview Spacey and then was like, "Oh yeah, this is just going to be like your little bit at the beginning, right? But we're actually going to get into the actual interview in a second." And then it just never ends, and Kevin Spacey just never turns it off. I doubt that's what happened, but I'm just imagining that play out.
That may be true, actually, but then they're protected by the First Amendment. They can say whatever they want. You believe in the First Amendment.
Also, apparently some people don't understand what's going on. He's in character as Frank Underwood, who he played in House of Cards, Lynn. So this is the accent his character in that show does. I think his character is like a congressman from South Carolina or something. So he has that, Southern accent. But that's what he's channeling right now. He's not just being himself. So yeah, he's in character as Frank Underwood. And honestly, it's a bummer too. I guess, I don't know if Tucker would agree, but if I was going to interview Kevin Spacey, I would genuinely love to do that if I was a big media figure like Tucker, because think about how much juicy, stuff you could get out of that, actually probe into what's going on with the accusations, his career, the state of his, comeback, if that's going to happen. But he can't actually do an interview right now because it's just a bit.
I assume.
Of course I do. Look, people spewing ridiculous ideas is nothing new, and they should always have that right. But the problem is, somewhere along the way, we started listening. And we should remember the salient words of Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Do not believe anything of what you hear and only half of what you see." And he wasn't telling people to stop talking. He was telling us to stop listening. So let's stop blaming bots and college kids and start telling leaders what leadership really means.
I love it. But how do you do that?
Well, this country is mired in so much contradiction and confusion. We don't even know how we can help anyone anymore because we can't agree who needs help. I mean, what doesn't come with a trigger warning these days? I mean, Tucker, we are far too close to having a beanbag chair in the Oval Office. We coddle to everybody. Okay, you think you're a rabbit, that's fine. But let me tell you something. You sure as hell aren't going to see someone walking through my White House in bunny ears and a tail unless it's Easter.
Well, amen. But how do you think we got here in the first place?
Fear, and then some more fear. That's been the consistent theme, fear. And that's why I'm going to keep saying we need to get some.
I genuinely cannot tell, Zach. What do you think? Is this all scripted and choreographed, or is it improvised?
I think he definitely has spent a lot of time thinking about what he was going to say, but no, I think he just went out there and wings it, bro. Because he's not saying much of anything. You got to admit, this is a guy that has spent a lot of time like trying to understand the character of Frank Underwood, right? And so I think that he, after playing it well, right, you can hear like, okay, he's just trying to live the role, right? Like he's trying to improv through this entire engagement, and that's why everything he's saying is super like blasé. Everything that he's saying is like 100% a platitude, right? It reminds me so much of the, what was it? Who was it that was running for president? Matthew McConaughey, right? And he was like, "Look, what are we going to do? We're going to respect one another. We're going to have some dignity. We're going to respect ourselves and the environment. We're going to take care of one another, but we're going to work hard. We're going to put our boots on one step at a time. We're going to do what's right. Goddamn it, because this is America, and it's about brotherhood and sisterhood and looking out for the future and the past and respecting that and knowing that this is our history and this is our land. And what are we going to do about it? We're going to do it together. That kind of stuff. And that's just what he's going back to, right? He's just doing that whole kind of platitude machine talk. As some miscellaneous Southern politician. And what's so embarrassing about this is, guys, the state of our political system is in such a way that there's really no difference between a polished actor going out there and performing the role of a politician and what you get from an interview with Tucker Carlson. So in a way, he's actually exposing himself because he's absolutely unwilling to poke a hole in the obvious charade that's going on in front of him. Tucker Carlson, this is actually beautiful. This is so beautiful because this is what you'll get from Tucker Carlson, regardless of whether or not it's a fake politician like Frank Underwood, right? He's not going to challenge how they're going to do any. Oh, how do you do any of that? Well, what do we do? We're going to work hard. We're going to have some decency. We're going to have some common respect. Oh, those are things that translate to efficacy in American politics. Sure. Nobody's ever said that before. Thank you. Like, you know what I mean? Just buying the bullshit hook, line, and sinker, not just saying, I'm actually going to burst your bubble really quick and say, obviously you're an unwell man who is trying to play a character in front of me as I interview you. Like, what do you think that says about your pathology? No, he's not willing to go there. He's going to let him do his performance. He's going to let him do his entire shtick and pretend that it's, 100% legitimate. That is exactly how Tucker Carlson operates as an interviewer. And boy, I don't even think he understands that he just gave away his entire game so blatantly right there. But this is incredibly illuminating for those of you who want to witness it.
Yeah, it also kind of cheapens Kevin Spacey's Frank Underwood character, in my opinion, because he's kind of just reducing one of his like signature roles down to this shitty bit that he slips into in order to bitch about his treatment from the media and about, the way society has reacted to his crimes. It's like, yeah, this actually is part of your legacy, dude. Why are you turning it into this bastardized bit again, which is only the only point of which is to complain and moan about the state of your treatment? Very bizarre stuff.
Adults back in the room.
Sounds like you're running. If you did run, I assume it would be as an independent.
Well, I've always been independent my whole life, no matter what my party affiliation, even though at the moment I don't quite recognize my old party.
So at what point would you get in if you did?
Well, I think there's time. I've never been afraid to show up a little late for the dance.
But lots of people want to be president. What would you specifically bring that others aren't?
Well, I think I have a long and very solid relationship with the public, and that's a bond that has never been broken. I mean, I've almost felt like I can talk to them directly.
Well, I mean, you do talk to them. Every Christmas you give a statement. It is Christmas Eve. What is your statement specifically this year?
Tucker, I think it's just good enough to sip some eggnog and decorate the tree and listen to White Christmas and embrace all the things that make this such a special day. The truth is, I love nothing better on this day than to do a line of blow, drink a whiskey and Coke, hit a reindeer with my car, and wish you all the naughtiest Christmas ever. Oh, yes, we both got canned by our network.
True, but they actually tried to kill you.
Yes, but here we are, Tucker, bigger than ever.
So looking back on all the
That's a
drama, do you think that legacy media played a role in what happened to you?
Look, I think they're trying to do their best to stay relevant. Look, platforms like X, I mean, you move information around so quick that everybody else is just playing catch up. Legacy media's diligence has turned out to be they just cut and paste what some trusted outlet does. I mean, look, this will be a good example. Watch how they report on this conversation. There'll be one or two headlines that get repeated over and over and over. I think actually if legacy media wants to survive, they're going to have to start slowing down.
That's smart. I agree with that.
They're going to have to start slowing down.
That's smart. Gone though from Netflix. I don't even know if you're aware of this, but every time a person pulls up the Netflix app, you're there in some way. Have you seen this?
Yes, you know what that is? Boom, boom. So it is bizarre that they decided to publicly cut ties with me on allegations alone, allegations that have now been proven false, because I don't think there's any question. Netflix exists because of me. I put them on the map and they tried to put me in the ground.
Do you think within Netflix and the leadership suites that your influence is still felt?
Well, according to your research, my influence is felt every time every customer opens the app. I'd say that's pretty powerful.
Oh, that's true. When are you getting back to work, by the way?
Oh, I've been
Okay,
back
let's
to
do
work
some
from the moment we
investigation,
started
guys.
talking.
Let's put our backs into this. Netflix numbers were released for the first time ever, right? A Netflix engagement report, I believe, is what it was called. It's in spot. Literally, House of Cards season 1 is the first one that pops up. It's the most watched on the list, and it's in spot 1077. So it's behind Grey's Anatomy. It's behind New Girl season 4. It's behind The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. It is behind all kinds of shit. It's Uncharted, the 2022 release. It's behind iCarly. It's behind Brooklyn Nine-Nine season 7. It's behind Pitch Perfect. It's behind Cobra Kai. It's behind The Blacklist season 4. It's behind Jane the Virgin. If you go up to the top, it's Wednesday season 1, The You Show. Stuff that's actually fucking relevant now. And even if we just want to be fair and look at a show like Breaking Bad, which didn't even fucking come out on Netflix, it's absolute. I don't even know if it's still on here. Actually, guys in chat, is Breaking Bad on?
It's not. It's on HBO, I think, right?
It's actually not showing up as one of the options. But let's look at something. Like, I'd be curious, even if you compared it to the West Wing, what spot's West Wing at, like, in comparison?
Is that on Netflix?
Actually, it's not anymore. Fuck me. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the behemoth that he's advertising it. There's about 1,000 and 76 other titles that we're more engaged with in 2023, according to the Netflix, numbers, which they've released for the first time ever. And while Kevin Spacey was there, he had no fucking idea how many hours of television people were watching his show because it wasn't public and it wasn't even given to the actors or the showrunners.
Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, do you remember that era, Zach, when it was like the DVD mail service where you'd put in your titles on their website and they'd send you DVDs in the mail?
My grandparents had that.
Yeah, dude, I was a huge fan of that service back in the day. I kind of wish it still existed, to be honest, because you could find some really rare movies on there, like movies that the library didn't have or that were like freaking $400 out of print Criterion or whatever. Netflix would always have those movies. So yeah, rest in peace, that service. But let's watch the rest of this shit.
So does that mean this is like an episode or is it real?
Well, it's probably a little of both. I mean, Tucker, what's true?
Is this an episode? I think he's talking about like a television episode, but it kind of doubles as like a psychotic episode. Are you going through an episode right now? Or are we good? Or is this real?
So does that mean this is like an episode or is it real?
Well, it's probably a little of both. I mean, Tucker, what's true? What's false? What's life? What's art? What's real? What's performance? I
Deep
love it
stuff
when
here,
these
man.
intersect, because then
I gave
gets
my
interesting.
love a chicken.
What role do you see
that
yourself
had
playing
no
going forward?
bones.
I will play whatever role the public wants me to play. And what about you, Tucker? What role do you want to play? I mean, if I run, I'm going to need a vice president.
I'll sleep on it. But, I mean, people have
Tucker's
already
like,
gotten out
"Don't
of the
bring me
race.
into this,
People have
pal."
dropped out already. Have you thought? What do you think of those?
Well, it's a little bit like jumping in the jacuzzi with a boner.
Oh my God. I feel like at this point in the interview, Tucker actually is trying to get answers out of him. Like he's actually past the bit and wants some real substance from this interview. And Kevin Spacey just won't turn it off. He just won't shut the fuck up. Oh my God.
I don't think that Kevin Spacey's in a position to be bringing up what he did with his boner in hot tubs either. I'm just saying.
Well, it's a little bit like jumping in the jacuzzi with a boner. You know it ain't going to last forever. So I wasn't surprised when Mike, a little too pensive, jumped out right away.
I wasn't either. But what about the candidates who are still in?
Well, I like Vivek, Drain the Ramaswamy, and Nikki Haley is tough. She's no doubt learned a thing or two by watching me. But I think in the end, we need someone in the White House who's not afraid, like me, not afraid to push our country or a journalist in the right direction if it comes to that.
That he's literally
I sure
okay.
appreciate
Pause
you
it right
coming
there.
out.
Pause
It's
it
great
right
to
there.
see you. Thank you.
He's literally, that's a reference to him assassinating a fucking journalist in House of Cards, right? That this man is unwell. This man is unhinged. He's like, we need a president that's going to be willing to move a journalist in the right direction. Like you want a president that's going to just start killing journalists, pal? Okay, yeah, no wonder you're on. What?
Yeah, dude.
Look out.
I don't get this. It's like he wanted to actually make a statement here of some sort, talking about how he made Netflix and, they wouldn't be nothing without me. And also some weird references to how he's thinking politically these days, saying that he doesn't recognize his party anymore. So clearly, he left the left. And he likes Vivek and Nikki Haley, and he thinks there's too many trigger warnings. So yeah, that's the profound insight we just received.
Hear what he has to say about pronouns, Gavin. It'll really break your mind.
Isn't that disappointing though? It's like all of this fucking show, all of this bullshit. You got your nice camera angles and nice lighting. You're dressing up as Frank Underwood, putting on your accent and all that stuff. And that's all you have to say is that, oh, Nikki Haley seems all right. And yeah, there's too many fucking trigger warnings these days. Like, really? That's all we have to get, like, from you? Come on, bro.